Okay, so this is another suggestion video I want to do, and it's basically like there's this series called Elric and Melniboné, and it began in the '60s and it ended I don't know when. It was basically books, but it was later adapted into comics. I think there was a run where they more or less did the whole story, except for one story I think they never finished. But anyway, there was this one run I believe in the '80s, and they've well not recently. This is a few years back, but they started doing another run of Elric, and it's supposed to be like a reimagining of his story. And for those of you who don't know anything about the story, Elric and Melniboné is like it's a tragedy. It is a dark, dark tragedy. Well, sort of dark. I've only read the first three comics of this and a little bit of the '80s run. Like I haven't read. I'm still waiting to get the volumes 2 and 3 before I really commit to reading the '80s run. But yeah, it is dark and it is a tragedy because it's about a character trying to defy destiny. I think, like I've said in the past, this is probably a connection I'm just making up in my head. But think Darth Vader, but there's not a happy ending. Like you have a hero who is doomed to die alone, who loses everything, who carries around a cursed weapon. And yeah, it's a very sad tale, but it's very interesting. And I know I use that word a lot, but this one is interesting in that both how it's written and the artwork is just phenomenal. This was actually the first thing I read of Elric, the Ruby Throne, which is what you should be seeing the comics on the screen in order of how they were released. So it's Ruby Throne, Stormbringer, then White Wolf. So anyway, and this is actually messing with the continuity of the original release of the novels because you didn't really know Elric was an emperor till like later on in the story when they released a prequel book. But anyway, the first two comics they start with him as an emperor, and it kind of involves how he came to forsake the throne and went on to explore the younger kingdoms. How he basically kind of ruined his relationship with the woman he loves, who unfortunately is his cousin. How he fought his other cousin, who wants to marry the cousin he's in love with. I swear, you could practically hear the Alabama banjo playing in the background sometimes. And the third one is his adventures in the Young Kingdoms and how he ends up being brought back to Melniboné. Well, almost. That's the ending of the third one, but I'm not going to go too much into it. And it's pretty dark. Like Elric is, like he's not a hero. I think Razorfist said it best. He is not a hero, and he ain't an anti-hero. He's halfway to being a villain. Like he's a wide-eyed idealist who thinks his people should be better and wants to make them better. Actually, a joke I like to tell is he wants to make Melniboné great again, basically. So yeah, you should. If he should have probably produced a series of hats that say "Make Melniboné great again." Kidding, of course, but yeah, and he kind of along the way, like in the I believe second comic, Stormbringer, that's where he gets the cursed sword. Now, for those of you who don't want spoilers, please, I would suggest leave the video here because, well, actually, I've already spoiled some stuff, right? But you know what? Fuck it. Stormbringer is like one of two swords made by Ariok himself, who's like a lord of hell, basically. He made one of two swords. One was Stormbringer, which was made for Elric, and there was its sister sword, which was made for Yyrkoon. I forget its name. I want to say the Morning Blade. Actually, I can look it up. I can actually pull the comic out and look. Just 1 second. Okay, I'm back. The blade is called Mornblade. Here's a line from the comic. Your father summons you. Let me introduce you to my favorite daughters. Two blades whose beauty is equaled only by their thirst for souls and hunger for destruction. Mornblade and Stormbringer, I beseech you, be worthy of them. Don't insult them by holding back. And that is all I want to reveal of this comic. And Ariok gives this both to Yyrkoon and Elric before they fight. And they kind of go all out. Elric wins, rescues Cimmeril, and then goes back. And he kind of uses Yyrkoon as a way of renouncing the throne. And this is kind of weird because Yyrkoon hated him being on the throne. Because the thing about Elric you need to understand is he was born to a sociopathic race. The Meldemoneans are very psychotic. Like, they torture people for pleasure. They're very sadistic. They are like chaotic evil. They are the worst kind of evil, and they're very decadent. And they've kind of lost their greatness, and Elric is their emperor, unfortunately. And the thing that makes him different from them, and don't get me wrong, he does some piece of shit stuff in the second comic. Just read it if you want to get what I'm talking about. But he spent his life kind of studying and analyzing stuff. So he read philosophy and stuff. This is actually what has caused Yyrkoon to basically just call him nothing more than a philosopher. And through this reading and studying, he has discovered what is known as morality, which is something the Meldemoneans cannot understand. To them, it is a foreign fucking concept. That'd be like going to a vegan and introducing them to the idea of eating meat. Actually, no, let's say you had a society of vegans. They've never seen meat before. They don't kill animals. Then one day someone from outside their little commune comes in and introduces the idea of eating meat, and they don't know what to make of this. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, they would be bewildered, basically. Or it'd be like if you've eaten meat all your life but never heard of a vegan, and a vegan shows up and starts introducing you to the idea of veganism. Which, at that point, I would really be showing them to the front door, because I would not want to deal with them. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting off that. And Elric, because of this, he is very unique among Meldemoneans. This is actually one of the things he has in common with Geralt of Rivia. One of many things. If you don't know, I assure you they have so many things in common, it's not even funny. In fact, there's actually a debate on whether it's plagiarized from Elric or not. I buy that argument, actually, but anyway, again, I'm getting off topic. Elric, he kind of wants to explore the younger kingdoms because his kingdom, the Meldemonet, is like on an island. I think it's called the Dragon Isle. It's been a couple months since I read the comics, or a month or two, or no, maybe months. It's hard to remember exactly, and he wants to learn things in the younger kingdoms that he can bring back to Meldemonet and save it from its own self-destruction. And again, I'm glad I already gave the spoiler alert here. Again, this is a tragedy, so you can kind of guess it doesn't go that well. And this guy loses a lot. He loses a lot of stuff he cared about. And from what I hear, there's actually a lot of brooding to him. Like, imagine, because Elric's life was kind of sad, to kind of veer off topic here. His mother died giving birth to him. His father was never able to fully love him. Nothing but destruction seems to follow him. And he finds himself being the pawn to the lords of chaos and order repeatedly, and neither of them are good. Like, apparently you see worlds where chaos has ruled only and worlds where order has ruled only. You need a balance of the two, or the worlds are fucked. Any of these worlds that he visits will be fucked. And not in the fun way. Actually, I think there was one planet in an Elric story called the Raped World, or the Raped Planet. Although, don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. But yeah, the art is definitely very good. The story, I'm kind of in the middle. Well, no, I'm slightly past the middle on. So if I had to rate this, I would say 8.9 or 9 out of 10. No, 8.9. I'll go with 8.9. It's very good. I think the art's probably what I like the most about it. That and the reimagining of Stormbringer, because I've seen what they used to draw Stormbringer as, and it looks stupid. This version of Stormbringer looks kind of cool. It wouldn't be my version that I would make. Like, I would just draw a long sword with no guard, That would be my version of Stormbringer if I could actually draw worth a damn. But yeah, that's about all I can really say about it. Is it's an interesting read. It's kind of unique actually to me because I'm used to heroes, anti-heroes, and villains and anti-villains. I'm not used to a protagonist who's just like halfway to being a villain. Like I'm used to villains being the enemy in the story. And as I said before, Elric has once been described as being halfway to being a villain because he does do messed up shit. And some of it I don't think he wants to do, but he has to survive. And I've heard that these three that have come out so far, and the fourth one, I think, well, they've kept delaying it. For now, it looks like it'll be released in December, but I think I heard that they've said this will be the first, this is like the first season. If so, I'm looking forward to more, because from what little I've heard of the Elric series, it sounds very intriguing. Like there are various characters you meet throughout the story that have their own stories, like Moonglum. There's actually a good song about him by Hawkwind, I believe. A very good song. There's, I want to say Crom for some reason, or Chorum or something. And then you have the Eternal Champions, which is like in every world there's an Eternal Champion. There's also an Eternal Consort who's like their lover. And every world has one. And they all die eventually. And yeah, it's a very weird universe Moorcock created. But yeah, it kind of almost makes me sad I haven't read his books yet, because that is the only series by him I will actually read. From what I hear, the rest of his work involves politics, and I'm not as big a fan of politics. I detest it unless it's in a fictional world. And the politics are actually about that world, not from the real world. But yeah, that's the video as far as the best I can describe it. The other thing I'll say about Elric is like he's an albino spell sword. Like white hair, albino skin, red eyes, morally ambiguous. Well, kind of morally ambiguous. Oh, actually, no, not kind of. He is in the morally ambiguous line, for me anyway. And he just travels the world in the Young Kingdoms, going on various adventures, and not all of them are pleasant. Like, he occasionally has a lover or two, but that's it. As far as I know, anyway. Anyway, that's the video. If you've actually read Elric already and you saw this whole video through to this point, tell me what you think of Elric in the comments. Like, why do you love him? Why do you hate him? What do you find interesting about his stories? What do you not find interesting about his stories? And sorry about all the ums. Like, I know I probably sound like the retarded cop from Family Guy, but that's like a very forced habit of mine. Anyway, that's the video again, and have a nice day. And yeah, just give this comic series a check out. Like, either buy it, or actually, if you're trying to get Ruby Throne, good luck, because I remember when I first started collecting the series, it was a bitch to get my hands on. Like, it took, I think, a year for me to finally get my hands on a copy, and that was recently. And yeah, just check it out. If not a physical copy, then online. I normally don't encourage piracy, but hey, whatever you do, that's up to you, not me. Anyway, again, have a nice day, and remember the game was rigged from the start.